So, is it a good time to invest? Should I be buying stocks or bonds? Well, obviously not either right now, but some people are buying stocks because of the obvious turmoil in the market. But I guess bonds, US bonds, have been being dumped like crazy from other countries, which is what caused him to back down on the tariffs and then also make exceptions for the tariffs. It's because the world economy works on global trade now. There's no way to get around that. We're in a situation where we have a very fragile economy. Let's put it that way. After 2008, I mean, politics aside, this is just about money. And my question of, I'm not here to tell you what to invest in. I did mention the other day a channel I watch, Gary's Economics. It's a great channel. I just highly recommend it. But he deals more with like trading and whatnot. I'm not a stock person. I don't like investing. I don't like my money potentially being lost. But at the same time, I've been trying to, save as much as I can over the years so my wife and I can get our house and, our dream home to live in for the rest of our lives. And so now I'm thinking, well, anything I have in cash assets is losing value. Like pretty much with inflation and where I see the economy going in the next few years, I don't know what to invest in. If any of you are experts on this, I'd love to hear your advice, but I know that there's no real, it's very hard to foresee where the future is going to lead, especially with the current tariff situation. I thought about this after I was like thinking about I was looking for, my kid's like birth certificate, and I came across some of my silver coins. I have not a lot, but I bought some silver back in the day. And when I bought my silver, I think it was at $15.50. And since then, it went all the way up to like 40, a little over 40. And then it went back down all the way, I think, to like 11 or 12. I mean, this is over a period of years. This was like probably 15 years ago that I bought some. But my friend has even way more than I do. And he said he sold his when it was at like 40 because he needed the money. But it went back down and then it went back up. And during COVID, it actually hit. Yeah, during 2020, it hit. I think it was $12. And that's pretty damn low for silver. I mean, that's for, the time. Like, it just went downhill. And I thought it's funny how it dropped to 12, then it jumped back up, and I think right now it's sitting at 32. And I was noticing this, and what made me think about this was sometimes when the dollar declines, from what I understand, precious metals will decline with it. But this time, with the dollar declining, gold has been skyrocketing, and so is silver. Funny enough, I came across these bars. I bought these years ago, like, I don't know, 10 years ago. They're just a pound of copper. That's it. It's just copper bullion. And I thought at the time, I was like, well, it's cheap. I mean, what's copper, like a couple bucks a pound? And I think I paid a premium on it because it was a novelty. But I started thinking, would it be smart for an individual to say, I'll buy your copper from people who are selling copper and melt it down yourself and make your own bullion and set it on the side. Here's the thing. A lot of people will argue that if the economy collapses, precious metals won't mean a damn thing. And you may be totally right. But anytime you want to rebuild, you're going to have to rely on something that has inherent value. And since precious metals have always been that commodity, I guarantee you that within a period of time, after a major cataclysm, if something were to wipe out the world economy and we were all to, have to get back into trade, having some metals, real precious metals to trade would be a very good advantage. However, I'm more thinking of it as a hedge against just the collapse of the dollar. Because if it came to a full collapse of like all monetary systems, I would say your best bet, your best economic investment would be knowledge, seeds, like every type of vegetable. There's a website I ordered from years ago. I think they're still in business. It's called Victory Seeds. And Victory Gardens were grown during World War II. They were recommended for every American to grow a garden, so we can help to, like, ease the burden on, producers, farmers, the economy, but also to show that we're a strong nation. We can produce our own goods and our own food, and so people would grow these victory gardens. It's great. Why isn't the government recommending that these days? Like, now there's different, like, city laws where if you have a garden in your yard, people will come and give you a ticket and a fine. Like, this should be, we need to be prepared for anything. And knowing how to grow food, having the knowledge to do so is great. And having the seeds, so you can buy them in these cans. It was a different place I got the cans from, but they came in like this big coffee can, size can, with like all these seed packets, like vacuum sealed, and in this durable can. You just grab a can opener, open it up. I wasn't sure if they would work, so I opened one of them after like 10 years. Everything grew just fine. So look, I have cannabis seeds that were like 40, 50 years old that I grew, and they grew just fine. Seeds will last forever, at least as long as your life. I mean, at least you'll have something. So maybe I'm going on about the seed thing, but we just depend so much on this paper money and our stocks and our bullion without realizing that if something major happened, all of that would just be garbage. If there was a huge financial meltdown, you know what the first thing they're going to do is? They're going to shut down the banks. This happened in Greece. This has happened all around the world many times, different places. Usually they recover because they get a bailout from another country or somebody to help them. This is well known, and if there's nobody to bail you out, you're screwed. Now, we started abandoning the value of the dollar back in the 30s. There was a time when Americans were forced by law to turn in all of their gold. So if you have gold bars, if you got caught with gold bars, you could go to jail for it. So you had a certain amount of time. So all Americans had to go to these special like depositories and turn over your gold for a rate of, I think it was $15 and something per ounce. And then after this program was over and the U.S. had collected all the gold, they just shot the price up and said, now it's worth $30. They doubled the price after taking all Americans' gold. And what that did was that declined the value of the American dollar significantly. And so all these Americans who were doing, quote, the right thing and followed the law, they turned in their gold and then they got screwed. Then gold became harder to buy back. Then they allowed people to buy it back at their government price. This was supposed to be to help America prosper, but it fucked over America. And we made it through. But these things are consistently happening in so many ways. We're being always robbed by those who, not just the robber barons, but our actual politicians that really don't care. But we need to prepare for ourselves. In other words, the people out there with power, they only want to keep things going smoothly and keep the economy running, because if it doesn't, they're screwed too. In other words, there are a lot of people who aren't as concerned as you might think about the general population. So if they can make a decision that will profit them and their buddies, and they can, screw the rest of the people, they'll do it often. Insider trading is just a very small example of that, but it corrupts and distorts what the market really is. And people just have too much faith. And I know somebody will probably mention Bitcoin. I hate to say it's just as much of a bubble as the dollar, because if the dollar collapsed, Bitcoin might surge, but it would have to be based on a new currency. You see, the currency is based on the value of a country, their production, their trade. When you have something like Bitcoin, it's a phenomenal idea, but something so volatile that jumps around between it jumps up to like 90 grand to 70 grand. It's like, this isn't it's more of it's a gamble. It's a risky investment created by, a Japanese guy, I think, who is still a mystery, and he probably holds a lot of Bitcoin himself. And I feel all markets can be manipulated. There's very few things that can't. Precious metals will always stand out as something you can hold in your hand, but just the ability to provide as much as we need for ourselves without money or trade is priceless. So knowing how to can your own vegetables, make your own jams, hunt, get your own meat, these kinds of things can be indispensable. And yeah, maybe you'll never need it, but why not spend a little time to learn some bushcraft? How to build a shelter in an apocalypse. Yeah, who knows? I've been saying this my whole life, so it's not like it's just because of what's happening now. I've been kind of a prepper for a long time. In fact, when I started my YouTube channel back in the day, my first videos were about prepping and learning how to store food. I had these 5-gallon buckets of dried food. It's like, be prepared for anything. The shit's gonna hit the fan one day. And eventually, raising kids and just being a family man, I can't just sit and obsess about when the shit hits the fan. But I feel like the shit's hitting the fan. So it's a good time to bring it back up. So we'll see. I'll see y'all next time. Be prepared for anything.